Captain's log, subdate 200804.6. The sub is 6 days out, so I've started the docking sequence programs, as this will be the first time I've actually used the docking sequence properly, as opposed to the last time when I left the sub, I blew a hole in the side and shouted, Leroy Jenkins. Welcome everyone to the Halls of Injustice, and this one is a proper injustice because the sentence is tripe. For this, we need Roger Spackman. Roger Spackman is a 50-year-old former councillor for the Labour Party in the Newtown and St Leonard's district of Exeter City. This was up until 2017. If we go back a little further to 2008, Roger Spackman joined an underground internet community called The Other Place. We'll talk about that in a moment. In 2017, the police tracked his IP address because he's never heard of NordVPN, no they don't support me. Sad face. The police tracked him, raided his home, and oh dear lord, The Other Place, which is no longer an existing site, oh Nelly. At Roger Spackman's home, the police uncovered 290,672 images of child sexual abuse on 68 devices, which featured children as young as 7. This included 58 images of Category A, which is the most serious nature, 49 images that fit into Category B, 407 Category C, and 8,672 images that were indecent drawings or cartoons. For the sake of it, the category is a severity rating. Category A involves images that are penetrative sexual activity, so possession of images involving sexual activity with an animal or sadism. Category B, possession of images involving non-penetrative sexual activity. Category C, images of erotic posing. This category is included to capture other prohibited images which do not fall within A or B. Erotic posing is a term used by the SGC guideline, but may be misleading. There have been cases where an image is not posed or erotic but could still be deemed indecent. For example, a naked picture of a child not engaged in sexual activity, but with a focus on the child's genitals. It took me a moment to find this up. It was from consult.justice.gov.uk Sentencing Council and Guidelines, so on. I will link it down below. So for 3 years, the United Kingdom's police, the Metropolitan Police, the greatest of the great, Scotland Yard perhaps, have been investigating Roger Spackman, arresting him, charging him, taking him to court for having some of the sickest imagery on many devices, and I earlier stated the sentence is tripe. Well, let's talk about that. You see, those that ran The Other Place were arrested. They were charged, they were sentenced and put in prison, the site torn apart. But not Roger Spackman. The judge had said in the case that he was of good character, working hard in public service as a councillor in Exeter, before his fall from grace, which had been dramatic, with him acknowledging that Roger Spackman had been abused as a child, and this was the fulcrum that encouraged Roger Spackman to play as a child online, an abused child no less, in these forums. It should be noted now, many of the images that were not accessible during this case go back with offences to 2008, which is 7 years after he began working at the Secure Children's Home. Roger Spackman's lawyer, called Barry White, said he likes to pretend he is a young girl who will be abused. He will pretend to be a young girl, and that none of the images are of people who he knows. He has never sexually assaulted any children, nor would he do so. The images were sent to him by the other party in the fantasy which were indicative of what that person liked. He did not get to choose what images, but he accepted them all. The prosecutor, Thomas Faulkner, said that some of the worst images were found on 2 devices found in his bedroom. Those images depicted prepubescent girls forced to take part in sexual activity. Barry White also said that there had been considerable impact on the life of Roger Spackman since the arrest in October 2017, where he quit his Labour seat the day after his arrest and did everything he could to avoid going out in public because everyone knows what he has done. I guess him and online shopping now became very close friends. Roger Spackman admitted that between October 2007 and July 2017, he possessed still and moving images of categories A, B, and C, as well as possessing a prohibited image and possessing 48 extreme pornographic images involving an animal. So I guess we should now get to the part where I tell you the sentence, and we then all scratch our heads and say, how? Roger Spackman was sentenced to 10 months imprisonment suspended for 2 years, placed on the sex offenders register for 10 years, and ordered to complete 40 days of rehabilitation activities. Allow that to sink into your head. In my head, my first thought was, wait, was he trying to be a vigilante or something? Then I realised, no, he actually has a series of fantasies. The mitigating factor of him suffering abuse as a child to then go on to collect images of children being abused with the excuse provided to me is insufficient and also, at this point, cliché. It is an affront to justice that he is handed such a mild sentence. Granted, his life is over, it is ruined. He will never get a job, and he'll be lucky to go anywhere without someone shouting paedophile at him. But upon discarding the idea that perhaps he was a vigilante, which he clearly wasn't anyway, I then remember 290,672 images of child sexual abuse on 68 devices. There is living a fantasy, and then there is this. This is disgusting. This has no excuse. This is a life sentence. You are currently 50 years old. The remainder of your years should be in an ISO cube. There is no excuse for what you did, and while I'm all in favour of rehabilitating you, which would take, I would argue, more than 40 days, considering you've been going on for nearly 10 years, courtesy of your own childhood experiences, I'm not inclined to believe those 40 days of rehab will change you. But I am of course open to being proven wrong. As far as your sentence of 10 months suspended for 2 years goes, I had initially thought that also read as 10 years. But then I saw suspended for 2 years and realised, no, the taxpayer got shafted when a 3-year investigation was done on you only to get you 10 months suspended for 2 years. You should be on the register for the rest of your life, and any rehab should be done behind bars. With this case, I'd like to know what you think. I'm sure many of you have varying ways of punishing Roger Spackman. I would put money on one of you saying, a short drop and a sudden stop. But I, of course, cannot encourage that. As a final thing, yesterday I ran a GoFundMe to help cover medical costs for Spooky, my sister's dog that lives here with me. She is now home. She is resting, and she'll require a fair amount of care for the next few weeks while her stitches do the thing. And the medication as well that she's on also does the ting. So, if I don't see you tonight on Twitch, because yes, I'll be streaming there, have a cracking Tuesday. Thank you all for listening.